Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there everybody, welcome to another Lemon Amiga Play Guide and Review. This time we'll be checking out Ikari Warriors. This was originally developed by SNK for the arcades in 1986, and the Amiga conversion was converted by Elite in 1987. You can see a list of some of the makers of this game. And the main converter was Richard Frankish, who you might remember from Space Harrier and Paperboy for Elite. The code was Mark Bullock, who also went on to Victory Road, which is the sequel to this game, and also Neil Metcalf, who'd already created Synapse for Heaton, and the graphics Peter Tattersall, who coded the Alfred Chicken games, which we will be reviewing this season, and also high-tech games such as Rough and Ready and Hong Kong Phooey on the Amiga. And the music was Jason Seabrook, and Jason also created the music for Outrun on the Amiga and Pac-Land as well. We can see a rolling demo just like the arcades. And in order to start the game, we need to press and hold down the 1 key. Then we will be taken to the beginning of the game. And from here we should be able to pause for a number of seconds to orientate ourselves. We don't have a time limit, and that is critical to remember. Sometimes we can even get pinned down at the very start of the game, and it's critical at this stage to save lives and to not get caught in corners. And if we lose any lives at this stage, we'll have to, well, it's better to abort, to be honest. So let's see how far we get on this particular run. By pressing the F1 key we can quit the game. By pressing the F2 key we can pause it. Unfortunately there is no key to switch on and off the music. So for the second and the final time in this video, let's try that again. In Ikari Warriors, the enemies will appear in waves, and the enemies will appear with a push system. As soon as we push the screen forwards, that will then trigger another wave, and if we go backwards in the level and then forwards, it will trigger exactly the same wave again, i.e. exactly the same guys moving to exactly the same position. So in order to stop the same wave from triggering again, we'll need to push the system upwards. We'll keep pushing the screen along, and that will mean we only need to face one wave at a time. And there is kind of a time limit in this game, and a missile will blow us up if we take too long on any section. This is the safe rock, and it's safe from enemies, and beyond that lies the first tank. I like to shoot my way forwards just to make sure that we can get in there. Hold down that fire button, that means we climb aboard, and now we are immune to weaponry and small arms fire, but we're not immune, unfortunately, to rockets. So let's just ignore all the rocket guys, and you can see a fuel gauge listed out on the left hand side of the screen, and our fuel will be constantly ticking down whilst we are inside the tank. We can blow up this bunker, but I'm rushing ahead at the moment to blow up this particular tank, and then we can park the old one here, and then climb into another tank. hit this bunker from the side, but once we blow that up, that will usually take a number of enemies with it. And you can see that the red enemies will drop a number of icons. There is a gun icon there that recharges our ammo all the way up to 99. And there is also an L, which I've just picked up, which gives us the long range firepower, which means it's slightly longer range fire on the screen. And there is also a grenade. You can see that tops up our grenades back up to 99. You can see in the top corner. So let's climb out of that tank and climb in another one. And this is the first bridge, and there's only one mine on the bridge that you can see. And then after you've got through that, then you can basically storm your way through to the end of the level. We'll still have to watch out for the explosions from any big things that we blow up, because the explosions can destroy us, but I don't think we can get destroyed on this small arms fire or on our own weaponry, even if we are rushing forwards. I like to clean everybody up first, and you can see 6 guys on the top. And there's also a gas bottle that we've just picked up. That means that our gas level will be topped all the way up again to the top. And I've just picked up a K that gets rid of everything on the screen. The S, I think, well, I'm not quite sure what the S does. I think it gives us some kind of advantage, and the F gives us a flame firepower, which means it goes through solid rocks. Fortunately, I've left the F behind, and there are floating mines that you can see. Some of them appear when we are near them, and the mines will track us. Now we are in another tank. We can use this one to blow up these 2, and we can always go back and get the other one if we're struggling at this point. But hopefully, if we avoid the firepower, we can now rush forwards. And it would be a good idea to milk all the enemies out, get that K and blow them all up. It would be a good idea to do that, but because the fuel is going down at a rapid rate, I'm using this tank rapidly to get to the next checkpoint. We really need to take care of the guys behind us, but the rocket launcher guys are pretty critical, and on this version of the game they don't fire very often. Using the tank now to its best advantage, getting through those enemies. Eventually, when the fuel runs out, that tank will blow up, and we can even use that to blow up enemies as well. If we collect the gas and we're not in a tank, it won't do anything. And S, I actually think that speeds up our firepower, but unfortunately we can only collect 1 token, which does anything. If we collect any more subsequent tokens, that won't do anything. So once we've picked up the special long reach and the special firepower, unfortunately we can't collect that twice, and it is possible to run out of bullets in this game. So if I collect that gun, then our bullets will go back up to 99, but usually it's best just to knock out 1 bullet at a time, and that's precisely what you can see me doing, 1 bullet at a time, because it is possible to run out of ammo. And if you do that, unfortunately you can't destroy any of the enemies. Some of the ammo will also get embedded in the scenery, particularly on the right hand side if you're shooting forwards. So it's a good idea to watch out for that, because if anything gets soaked up in the scenery, of course it's not going to do any damage to the enemies, and it means we've got 1 less bullet to fire. So that's a quirk, I think, of the Amiga version, and that's just something to watch out for. And the grenades, I think the ammo fires further than the grenades, especially with the long range reach that we've got, I think, at the moment. And if you are halfway up the screen, then the bullets should at least go all the way to the top of it. Sometimes we can get pinned down, and just like LA SWAT on the 64, we'll just have to jump out and get those guys before they pin us down any further. And again, a big homing missile or a big missile will appear on the screen and blow things up if we spend too long upon it. So you can't stick around and leech these things forever. That's some more ammo. We're down to 46 bullets, so that's a good idea. So this is the swamp. I think this is the end of the river section, and now we're into the endless swamp. So for this one I like to pull back and lure enemies out. Sometimes the enemies will run away if you are too far above them or too far below them on the screen. And sometimes if you leave them hanging around, they'll actually come backwards in the level towards us, and if an enemy touches us, that's unfortunately a life over. The helicopters don't pose too much of a problem, and what I like to do with these guys usually is approach it from the right and take them all on, or well, you can throw a grenade as well. But it's good to get onto this island before that tracking mine catches us up, and then the next wave, they will basically come in a big line, and if you are standing on the wrong part of this island, they'll walk straight into you and kill you straight away. So I like to stick to the left of this island, and now bravely moving forwards, inching forwards at a time, and that's because there's a helicopter coming down, but also because there's a bunch of tracking mines. And if we hang around on the left long enough, those tracking mines will follow us, and that's precisely what we want to happen, because they block the exit, and if we spend too long messing around in this section, they can get us. So let's lure them down the screen. Having lured them down, then we can move around these mines, and they make a beeping sound to show you, well, to tell you when they're about to blow up, and it's pretty good collision detection at this point. And this version of the game that I'm playing at the moment is actually the IPF version. This is the version that came with the 10-star pack, which I had back in the day, which came with Pteropods and Barbarian 1 and Whizball 1 and many other Commodore 64 conversions. I unfortunately had that 10-star pack and Amigas and games like that, so this is precisely what I had back in the day, and I think this is an updated version. I'm not quite sure, but this was basically the last version that was released on the Amiga. I'm using the IPF because this is uncorrupted, and every single one of the ADFs that I tried were corrupted, or the WHD load actually quit after you get so far in the game and got through a number of bases, and so the WHD load appears to play, but it actually doesn't. So none of the IPFs or the WHD load slivs actually worked for me, and because we played this in the Superleague, Lemon Amiga versus English Amiga Board Superleague competition in 2024, then I had to find something that worked, and only the IPF worked out of all those cracks, so I'm actually playing the original. Definitely, if you're going to play this game, you might be struggling to find the version that works, and I couldn't find anything on archive.org that was either non-crashing or non-corrupted. So this game, unfortunately, we're having to play an original copy of it. Luckily, after you install the DLLs, that's possible. So in this section of the swamp, I like to keep left, basically because there's a big helicopter that's going to come down, and if you're very quick, you can gun that away, and it doesn't really fire many bullets either, but you have to make sure that you get away from its shrapnel that explodes. Because we're walking very slowly in this lake, it means it's very much harder to get away from that explosion, and the big things will always explode with some shrapnel, and if you are caught in that, even in a tank, you're just gonna die. With this game, I like to line up and take a sure shot. It's not exactly Dogs of War, but it's very much a similar kind of thing. If you've got a sure shot lined up, then you shouldn't really need to waste too many bullets. So let's lure some more guys on the screen and then blow them up with this K. And there's another mine there. That's not too much of a problem because we can head right here. And sometimes if we are pushing forwards too much, we'll simply walk straight into the guys walking on the screen, and they will kill us straight away. So sometimes it's good to push forwards and fire forwards at the same time, just like that. So if anybody walks down into our path, they won't instantly kill us. Now we're approaching another base, and you'll need a grenade to get through a base, and that automatically takes out 4 of the guys sat on top of it. That's good, that's some more speed shot, and you can always blow up the guys sat on top of it if you really want to do that. Unfortunately, I've only got 16 bullets left, so let's creep into this tank, and hopefully, well, we've now got 15 bullets left, and hopefully these red guys will drop something. There you go, that's some more. We could have jumped into the second tank, but if we are quick here, we can even blow up this helicopter on a diagonal. If we are quick here, then it means that we can face the mid-level boss. Mid-level boss can be tricky, but if you've got a tank already, then it can be a lot easier. And if you've got the super grenades, which I don't think I'll be picking up during this playthrough, that means every grenade blast launches shrapnel behind it, and that means that that explosion will blow up the big tank, of which there is only one boss in this game. It'll blow it up even quicker. But its own missiles blow up with that huge shrapnel, and I think in that case it blew up on its own shrapnel. But you can see it's getting more harder to attack these bases now, but as long as we take out the gate, that will get rid of most of the guys, and that's some more ammo. So we played this in the competition, and the aim of the competition of course was to get a high score. This was taken the week before the competition. This was recorded during a warm-up play, which I recorded trying to find an ADF that worked, or a WHD load, or whatever, and so this is my play of the IPF just to see if it actually works. This is a trap, and there are mines on the floor if you try to take out anything other than that tank on the far right, and waiting for that guy to disappear. If I blow up the guy in the middle, all that will do is blow up all of the tanks, and if we rush out to try to get that tank, it's probably, the guy in the middle is probably going to get it. So what can we do? If we sit here forever, then a missile will come and blow us up. So I'm trying to think about, I'm going to have to brave it. I'm going to have to rush into that tank as quickly as possible. And finally we got him on a diagonal. Of course, watch out for landmines, but we don't really need to collect any collectibles at this stage. Well, a bit more ammo and a bit more gas won't hurt us, and we can use our tank to fire over walls and kill enemies on the other side. So let's pick up that gas. You can see we're even wasting gas standing there doing nothing at the moment. And we can use the tank now to drive through the scenery and hopefully blow these guys up. And they don't tend to fire that rapidly on this version of the game. Maybe if you played the original version or the budget release, maybe they've been tweaked to fire a bit more rapidly. At this stage we're going to get another line of guys, so what I like to do is to lure them out, and if you're not careful some of them can run all the way to the shore and blow us up. But this is the start of the big lake, so I like to stay in the tank first of all whilst we've got some fuel in it, and then we can take them on absolutely no problem. It doesn't look like they're falling for our trap, and you can see a mine now working its way down the screen from the top of it. That's good news because that saves us luring the mine out, and it means hopefully we can run around it. But let's take it on to the left anyway. You can see 2 mines there, so we're going to have to drag them both down. If we try to run through the middle, they'll get us, and I think if we go left as well. So, not quite sure. Hopefully if we pull them both into the middle, that will give us the best chance of getting through this lake. And it's not a particularly hard lake, and it's not particularly large either. So let's brave it, let's take our chances. In fact, let's go over the way to the other side, I think, because maybe this way is a bit too tight for me to get through. so at the other end of this lake we have a Wild West zone where guys attack us and it looks like a Wild West. And after that we get kind of an Aztec zone with a temple and masks on the side which will shoot us. And then it's the final base of the game. So we're heading towards the final base now. All we need to do is to get through those 3 zones and then we can tackle that end of game. And you can see now that the bases are guarded with mines and snipers, so you can have to maybe lob a good time grenade in or a good long shot to kill them. Ikari Warriors currently hold 65% score on the Lemon Amiga database, and Amiga User International awarded this 70%, Zap Amiga 64 gave this 74%, Generation 4 gave it 78%, and Commodore User awarded Ikari Warriors on the Amiga 80%. So that means that the average score is around about 7.5 out of 10. I think the graphics are functional, they're certainly a lot better drawn than Victory Road, and this plays infinitely better than Victory Road on the Amiga. This is definitely playable, and as long as you can take your time and aim for things and knock things out, of course it's not too difficult. And veterans of this game who've mastered it said that this is nowhere near as hard as either the Commodore 64 version or the original arcade version. And that's not too bad, because there's nothing worse than a game that's too hard. It means we can get through it, and it means we can have a good time playing it without thinking that the game's taking away lives needlessly. This is definitely an easy firefight compared to some games, and even Dogs of War on the Amiga. Eventually it will give us some green tanks to avoid, and if we run south and try to avoid them, we can blow them both up with one shot. And again, if you collect a bee, that will give us a super grenade. That means that it will blow up with shrapnel, and I don't think I've got the super grenade at the moment, but that just makes these tanks a lot easier. And the B is very rare to find in this game, and the L as well. You'll find tons of ammo top-ups, but you'll probably not find too many B's or L's. Let's not blow ourselves up on that grenade. Again, this is a practice run, and I've never actually been this far in the game before. That's why I'm now inching forwards trying to get through it. As long as you have the right tactics, often aiming on the diagonal and hanging around on the diagonal means enemies can't shoot towards us, and tanks, well, the barrel rotates around before it's got a lock on. So if you aim for slightly off centre, that's usually the way to go. And these bunkers as well, of course, slightly off centre, you can then throw your weaponry into them. But what I learnt and what I discovered is if you aim on the diagonal, just walk into the middle here and aim on the diagonal. You don't have to walk into the firepower in these bunkers. You can simply aim and lob a grenade in on the diagonal. And that's important because I'm about to walk into death, because the collision detection on this particular bunker is a bit weak, and that's killed me even though I was nowhere near that bullet. And so again, aiming on the diagonal is very safe to kill these things, or even lobbing one from the left or from the right, and you don't even have to blow these things up. But that's our first 2 lives lost now that we're getting towards the penultimate level of the game, so you can see it's not too difficult to get through it, and losing those 2 lives needlessly like that well, I could have written my ticket towards the end of the level from here, because there are a few mines to observe, and it gets pretty tight in this Aztec zone. What I like to do is reserve at least 3 lives for this place in case I lose them, and so with 4 lives available now, it might even be possible to get through. The masks, you can see, will fire towards us, but they fire very slowly, and it's even possible, I think, to outrun those bullets. So if you're standing right beside them like this, I thought this was safe because it's the first time I've played it, and no, you can't blow them up. So this is definitely unknown territory for me. So obviously if you take it a long way around, then there is less of a chance you'll get shot to death by those masks, and they're not too difficult to avoid. Very unlucky to get that diagonal shot, and also very unlucky to stop momentarily just at the point where I was going to get shot. So I think at least 3 or 4 lives have been needlessly wasted on this particular playthrough, and you can see a big rocket came down and blew me up. So that's definitely one of the quirks of this game. After that you get to enter your name on that high score table, and so that's the end of my warm-up run, but not the end of this video. And so once you put your name in, it should come up with that high score, and unfortunately I don't think it comes with any high score music. But you can see there, 84,200 is what we scored on that particular run. That was basically 80% of the way through the game, or maybe 90%. And the end section, after that we get to this section, and this has got a bug. If you get killed, unfortunately, in this part, you can't progress because the walls are stopping you from moving forwards. So this happened to me over and over and over again during that competition. What can you do? Well, if you lob something on a diagonal straight away and get ready for that tank, then hopefully the walls aren't going to stop us. Now, this is the very final section of the game. It's not too difficult. If you take the left route, there are a few mines to worry about, but that's basically it. You don't want to take the right route because you'll find a helicopter there. Very lucky not to get blown up on that mine. And you can destroy the steps for 1,000 extra score at this stage, and that's fine, but I really want to move forwards and try to avoid this tank, because again I don't want to be stuck behind that wall. Now taking the left route again to avoid those helicopters, we can now rush out and avoid that guy trying to kill us. And look at that, we got shot anyway, and look at that, we managed to get through the wall. So this game's got mixed opinions on its own bugs. Some walls you can get through when you die, some walls you can't. And that isn't the last bug that we'll see in this game, but that's definitely one of them. So bullets being absorbed on the left hand side of the screen is what I like to call a bug, and that's definitely unappreciated. And in this scenario I think there is also a random helicopter which appears as well sometimes. And so you can see we're getting pinned down. We have to fire and forget, basically. Stick and move, because as soon as we've moved, if the enemy's fired towards our position, it means we can avoid that missile. Not too worried about much at this stage, but we're down to 40 bullets. Let's connect some more, and the F for the firepower, and the K blows everything up. So let's lure some guys onto the screen before we use the K. And you can see it's more or less an onslaught. This is the final red carpet leading to the final boss, but it's not too difficult. Again, if you get used to pulling back, always pull back and run away, and then stick and move, and then if you keep on doing that, then it shouldn't be too difficult. Now the final obstacle is meant to be a boss. It's not really too difficult because we can shoot it and you can see another glitch in the game. This guy can't be shot. So let's try and shoot him again, and no, he can't be shot. And so if we blow these things up, and then the big guy, now he's been killed, and that leads to the final boss, which isn't a boss at all. We can simply walk up to him and touch him and get 1,000 free bonus points for completing the game. So thank you very much for seeing this play guide to Ikari Warriors on the Amiga, and I hope to see you again in another one sometime soon. Thank you.